A walk in the forest is one of the things that I enjoy the most. I live in an area where a good hike is never far away. I find the walks to be peaceful and restorative, especially when the world gets busy and loud and chaotic. Listening to the sounds of the birds or the river takes you to a place of reflection and solitude. Over the past few summers, I have traveled to the Baltic countries of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Each time that I visit, I learn more about these beautiful countries with very complex histories. In order to fully understand the events of that time period, I needed to reacquaint myself with the early days of World War II. Within weeks, we will see a new plan emerge to change the future of all three countries. It will eventually be known as the Holocaust by bullets. Kaunas at one time was the capital of Lithuania and is located about 70 miles west of present-day capital of Vilnius. Walking around the city, there are virtually no signs that prior to World War II, Lithuania was considered the Jerusalem of the North, with over 200,000 Jews living within its borders. On October 29, 1941, what became known as the Big Action was begun. 9,200 people were marched the 4 miles from the ghetto to the 9th fort. Today, a memorial stands as a solemn reminder of the victims of that day and other actions that brought the total at the 9th fort to close to 50,000 Jews. A small field serves as the final resting place of those horrific acts. On September 6, 1941, occupying German forces created the Vilnius ghetto and divided it in two. The smaller of the ghettos housed Jews that were unable to work. The smaller ghetto was the first to be liquidated when those Jews were forced onto trains and taken 10 kilometers away to the Ponar forest. In the Baltic countries, nature and the forests are central to their identities. It's where families spend weekends and holidays. It's where they gather mushrooms and berries and enjoy the simple life. Until the day that forests became places of unspeakable violence. People were taken to large pits that were originally dug by the Soviets to be used as fuel storage tanks. Once there, they were met by 150 Lithuanian collaborators, along with the Nazi Einsatzgruppe and mobile killing units that would systematically murder 10 to 20 people at a time before the next groups were brought to the edge of the pit. The sheer size of these pits made me shudder to know that when they were constructed, the largest was almost 80 feet across and 25 feet deep. As I walked around the memorial, I realized that this place was so much more than just the Lithuanian Jews. Poles, Soviets, Roma, and Communists were also remembered here. My last site was the largest of the pits. In 1943 and 44, as Soviet troops closed in, this was used to imprison the burning brigade. 76 men and 4 women had to exhume and burn the corpses of those who had been previously shot. In 5 months, they burned close to 65,000 bodies. Riga, Latvia experienced a similar fate as Lithuania. The ghetto in Riga was formed in early October 1941. The decision was made to liquidate the ghetto of Latvian Jews in order to make room for German and Austrian Jews. Many people died or were shot on their way to Rumbala, some 12 kilometers away. Once they arrived in the forest, they were met by 10 to 12 German SD soldiers that were armed with Russian machine guns, weapons that were chosen to allow for deniability if the pits were ever discovered. They were stripped of their clothes and valuables and forced into the trenches and lay face down. During those 2 days, 25,000 Jews were murdered. Most were Latvian from the Riga ghetto, but 1,000 German Jews were also among the victims. Although this was the smallest of the forest sites that I visited, you could really feel the heaviness of this place. The city where I live has 20,000 residents, 5,000 less than were killed in 2 days at Rimbula. Back in Riga, I set out for my final forest memorial. I took a short bus ride to the northeast part of Riga. Baikerniki was the largest area with 55 marked burial sites spread over 80,000 square meters. Most victims were Latvian, German, Austrian, Czechoslovakian, Soviet prisoners, and political adversaries. Plaques around the central memorial detailed the cities where transports brought victims to their deaths. A good number of the killings here were in July 1941 and early 1942. Keep in mind that at this point in time, mass extermination camps like Auschwitz-Birkenau were not operational as mass killing units yet, using carbon monoxide or Zyklon B gas inside their chambers. It wasn't until the spring of 1943 when camp authorities started up the 4 crematoria with gas chambers at Auschwitz II-Birkenau. The Holocaust by bullets was deemed not as efficient as the concentration camps turned into extermination camps. The altar is engraved with a passage from the book of Job. "Earth, don't cover my blood. Let my cry have no place to rest." It is shared in Latvian, Russian, German, and the Hebrew languages. After spending time in the Baltic nations, a new awareness of the fragility of life and the historic role that forests played mixed together as I walk through these beautiful places. Two years ago, when I met with someone at the Jewish Museum in Vilnius, they told me that in order to understand, you have to visit the forest. And so I did.